Well, they're suggesting that the activity appears to be getting worse and could get worse over the course of the next week. The problem here is that, as you can see, the glacier behind me at the moment, underneath the ice cap is the volcano, and as the magma hits the ice, it converts that ice into expanding steam, which shoots up into the air, taking bits of glass and dirt and sand with it, and that's what potentially could cause problems to aircraft engines. The other interesting thing that people we've been talking to here observed this morning is the electrical conductivity of the volcanic ash. You can see lightning at the top of the plume. At the moment there is a little bit of cloud cover, so you can't see the plume clearly, but believe me, it's right behind me here in this desolate part of Iceland, and it seems extraordinary really that there have been 17 farmers who have been moved from their farmsteads, being told that it's probably not safe to go back. There were 500 people who were evacuated from their homes. Most of them have gone back. So the disruption here in Iceland is minimal, and it seems incredible that the effect of this volcano all the way from the UK to the Ukraine could be as dramatic as it is.
Yeah, of course, Robert, it's not just what's going on inside the volcano that's causing these problems, it's the weather front across Europe itself.
That's right, and the issue at the moment, I heard you earlier describing it as a spray can effect. The problem is that all of this plume is pushing up the ash into the higher altitude, but there is a high pressure over Europe at the moment, and what that's doing is that it's not dispersing the ash, so it's pretty much sticking across Europe, as I said, from the UK to the Ukraine, a large swathe of the world. So what they're hoping is that this storm that they're seeing the early signs of could kick in by the end of the week and disperse that. So how are the airlines dealing with it? I mean, it's a real issue for them. The estimate that we've been saying, about 150 to 200 million pounds a day. Some of the budget airlines considering maybe temporarily laying off their staff to weather this storm. We've seen some airlines in Central Europe, in Germany, for instance, attempting test flights to see whether they can fly just below the cloud of ash. And they've been taking empty planes, obviously, because at the moment one of the biggest problems is logistical, that the planes are all in the wrong place for when this eventually does lift, and those were successful, but obviously they're taking this very seriously. There were cases in the 80s and the 90s of planes that flew into clouds of volcanic ash and suffered severe catastrophic engine failure, and they don't want to risk that again. So they're taking no chances, crossing their fingers and watching the weather models as they develop.
Robert, there's also a neighbouring volcano, and there are concerns among experts that that could start to erupt, adding to the problems.
Well, that's right. Let's have a little bit of a history lesson here. In 1821 was the last time there was a major eruption here at this glacier, and it went on for 2 years. What actually ended it was the pressure kind of moved along the pipe, so to speak, to the much larger Katla volcano, which is next door. And that is the real fear here, that if it happens again 200 years later, there could be far more severe consequences in terms of what's thrown up into the air, but also consequences for Icelanders themselves. There's a very real risk of severe flooding should that happen, because it's much larger, there's much more ice packed around it, and that obviously would have much greater